Welcome back to the Nerderotic channel. My name is Gary Beekler, and I come to you from nerderotic.com. Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and all that other stuff. Whether you celebrate or don't celebrate, I hope you are having a great time out there with your friends and family. We have to discuss something kind of serious. It's not something I do a lot here, and I promise you I will not make a habit of it, but we need to talk about toxicity and the toxic media. Yes, the toxic media. Media who likes to go out and pick fights with fans. Media that attacks fans or makes broad generalizations. And one of them has included a friend of mine. Now, it's not related to Doctor Who, but I'm going to tell you how it's going to be related to Doctor Who. This is the particular article I am speaking about. It is how Star Wars fans ruined Star Wars in 2018. And there's a follow-up article here that mentions my friend Dictor Van Doomcock and lumps him in with the worst elements of fandom, which I will maintain is a small minority. But this is part of the story. This is part of the narrative to put us all under the umbrella of toxic fandom to deflate our arguments and maybe score some brownie points with somebody. I would hazard to guess that there's a higher percentage of toxic media than actual toxic fandom. Briefly, toxic fandom doesn't exist. Toxic fandom is just fandom. It has always been like this, and this is what makes it cool. There's always been debates, arguments, and it's all done in fun, a lot of it tongue-in-cheek, very little of it is serious, but since genre, sci-fi, Star Wars has recently just reached the stratosphere, it brings in a lot of new people who want to attach themselves to it to kind of get, make it look good on the resume. There's a lot more media involved in it, a lot more people wanting to associate themselves with Star Wars, probably get in with Star Wars, and that's why we call them shills. Access journalism. Now, access journalism exists. It doesn't mean Disney pays them. It just means they might get a screener here and there, and to think that Disney doesn't punish people for going against them, well, I'll give you the LA Times. Their critics were banned when the LA Times wrote an article about just the general dirty politics that have been going on in Anaheim for years. And then they lifted the ban, and all of a sudden, people came correct. It's been really different since then. And since Disney bought Fox and they own more stuff, well, we're just going to get more of this. So Matt Miller comes out calling Star Wars fans racist, misogynist, sexist, well, a certain sect, but it's pretty broad, the accusation, and he includes my friend Doomcock in the article, guilt by association. Now, this is something I've been noticing from the media in the UK. There's a commonality in one of Maddie's arguments and one I've seen from Lucy Jones and others. Let's take a look at this. Now, I just randomly did a Google search of PC Doctor Who to come up with a couple articles just to prove my point. I don't totally argue with this headline here. No, Doctor Who isn't too politically correct. It's just not very good. That's an argument for another day. Basically, the article breaks down what was in the headline. I just wanted to highlight a sentence down here that on its own seems harmless. Doctor Who has problems, but those problems aren't that it's too PC. Doctor Who has always had a message of tolerance and acceptance. Okay, so basically, if you say something is too politically correct, you're against inclusivity, diversity, tolerance, you're against people. I go on. Sorry, Lucy, I don't mean to pick on you, but back to Lucy Jones and the Independent. Doctor Who Backlash shows why it's time to bin the phrase politically correct, because of course it's the phrase that's the problem, not the show. Lucy, happy holidays, but she says a couple things in here that really relate to this narrative I'm speaking of. When I see the phrase politically correct, or PC, I tend to roll my eyes and interpret it as a signifier of how a person feels about race, gender, sexuality, or ecological issues. In my early years of journalism, I moderated comments at a conservative newspaper website. Are you a journalist if you're moderating comment sections? Whatever. PC gone mad. A very common epithet was always shorthand for a tedious expression of disapproval at recycling, or a person of color, or a woman being given some kind of platform or attempt at equality. This is the part I didn't read in that video because it's filled with current politics and I will not get into all of them. The history of the phrase is fascinating and too long and complex to go into here. It has been passed between left and right over the past century to mean different things. Most recently, the president has manipulated it into a tool to stir up resentment, fear, and division. And then she goes off on a tangent about the president that has nothing to do with Doctor Who. So let's get this straight. If you are against political correctness, you're against inclusivity and diversity. And if you're against political correctness, you're part of the right wing? Pat Stacey, right-wing Doctor Who haters are lying. Series is far from failing with Jodie Whittaker. I'm going to spare you of this article. I will link it in the description if you can take it. But I'm just going to go to her conclusion, which is, in the grand scheme of things, the fate of a mere TV series ranks low on the list of priorities. Don't be fooled. This is the big lie in action. The big lie, invented by an Evil Dead guy from Germany, perfected by another Evil Dead guy from Germany, and practiced with dismaying success by a president on his obliging base, is an ingeniously simple concept. Tell an outrageous lie often enough, and soon people will begin to accept it as fact. Well, don't accept it. Doctor Who is doing just fine without a penis. Pump the brakes, Stacy. Easy. Hey, I love a conspiracy theory. I own a tinfoil hat. Watch the Exozone. You want to borrow my tinfoil hat? Now I'm going to Matt Miller's article. I am not going over the whole thing. Doomcock and World Class Bullshitters both did great videos on this, which I will link in the description. I will just read the headline and a couple of sentences. I admire Matt Miller for at least getting straight to the point on this one. In 2018, a loud movement of racist, misogynist trolls derailed the beloved family sci-fi franchise. Now, part of making accusations like this is showing receipts, and this is the quote he uses. I'm still lamenting over how terrible this movie was. I have to pretend I never saw it just to get through the day. We're not buying your political agenda. I didn't see Solo as a way to give a finger to Rian Johnson and Kathleen Kennedy, and many others did the same. This has become the narrative surrounding Star Wars and the rejection of The Last Jedi throughout 2018. Emboldened members of the far right use Star Wars as another easy target for online hatred. And now we have Matt's follow-up article. Nice picture, by the way. I called out toxic Star Wars fandom. They proved my point. Last week, I published an article titled, "The Year Star Wars Fans Finally Ruined Star Wars." In it, I very specifically discussed the loud section of Star Wars fans who have spent the year attacking the film, its director, and its actors with misogynistic and racist online harassment. Remember, he said he was specific. It seems a lot of readers, A, either didn't read the article, or B, took this as an exercise to get angry online because holy shit, these people went absolutely batshit crazy. So your commentary on the fandom wasn't angry at all? Really? I find it hilarious that the people can get worked up over a family-oriented sci-fi film. There you go, shaming again. And they'll say some truly unhinged shit. By the way, you write for Esquire? Cussing a lot. I also found it hilarious that at least 2 different people spent the time to make 30-minute videos discussing my article. And there we see Jeff and Doomcock's videos. I didn't watch either, but one was made by a person named Doomcock, a legitimately good name, I'll admit, and it is, who speaks with some sort of Darth Vader voice effects and looks like a low-rent Phantom of the Paradise. Well, if you didn't watch his video, how do you know how he sounds? Did you watch some of his videos? It seems by the end of his article, he realizes how self-contradictory he is. Let me be very clear, folks. I don't care if you hated Space Vegas. I don't care if you thought Luke Skywalker's characterization was wrong. I don't care if you hated Kylo's shirtless scene. I'm not talking about you. Okay, first you complained that people didn't read your article, yet you didn't watch the videos you referred to and didn't even link to them, which isn't very honest with your readers. And then, after saying you were being very specific by calling Star Wars fans racist and misogynist, the ones who didn't like the film, yet you say later you weren't talking about everybody. The mental gymnastics of this thing are incredible. The funniest thing is, I don't think you know what Jeff from World Class Bullshitters looks like. You see how easy it was for me to build a narrative showing that the media thinks that anybody who criticizes Doctor Who or Star Wars is part of a right-wing movement, which couldn't be further from the truth. But instead of loosely associating some YouTubers or some tweets to my argument, I actually used your own words. I am a subscriber and financial supporter of the World Class Bullshitters and Dictor Van Doomcock, partially because they don't talk about politics and they keep it to entertainment, and that's the whole point here, folks, and we don't like talking about them either. I was very hesitant to put this video out, but it needed to be said. It is not a right-wing conspiracy, or it's not us ruining Doctor Who or Star Wars. It might have something to do with Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, Chris Chibnall, Rian Johnson, and yes, I have to break out my multi-headed franchise-killing Hydra of the Apocalypse. It was said in one article that pretty much admitted that Doctor Who is politically correct, and they do it to create conversation. I do not watch Doctor Who to create conversation. I watch Doctor Who to be entertained. But I have to agree with you on something. Doctor Who Season 11 has lacked some inclusiveness. It has lacked some representation. It's lacked Dalek representation, Cybermen representation, Zygon representation, and Autod representation. Chris Chibnall, are you an anti-Auton? But seriously, we watch Doctor Who for fun, thrilling entertainment. You know, I just got back from Aquaman last night, and oh my God, it was so refreshing just to have a bright and shiny movie, popcorn fun. There was no politics. There was no talk of inclusivity or diversity. And guess what? It was a diverse cast. But nobody cared and nobody noticed because we were too busy being entertained. That's what Doctor Who is supposed to be. That's what I want out of Doctor Who. And that's what a lot of us here who come into our comments section want out of Doctor Who. Matt, Lucy, Stacy, while I completely disagree with you in your articles and think you're just dead wrong and wish you would just research fandom a little more, hear the depth of our arguments, and maybe we could have a conversation someday. But until then, have a happy holidays, nothing personal. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. I do 3 live streams a week. Monday, Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time is the Nerdrotic Nooner, and Friday Night Tights is at 7 p.m. Pacific. Our live schedule is at nerdrotic.com. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, whether you like the show or hate the show, I want you all to have happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and may the small folks sing songs for greatness.
Nerderotic.com. Please subscribe.